goals, and it's always forward. We don't think about what happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but that's what you guys do, and that's why you make us feel like this.
I love that. I always tell them that too. It's like whatever's happening right now, we don't really reflect back on it until later on, because everybody's like, oh my God, this album was so great. And we're like, because I think about it at times, at certain points in the history when we drop an album, it might not have hit in our mind. And then later on in time, people are like, that's my favorite record ever. And we're like, where were you when it came out?
Right. You're hearing it from the actual fans, and not like the critics, the people that they have an opinion. You're hearing it from the actual people that are consuming the content that you're putting out there.
100%.
It's a huge difference between like critical and like fandom, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. We feel whatever our last record was, that's our best record.
Absolutely.
When somebody says your best record was 15 years ago, you're like, what the fuck is
And I keep trying to explain to Paul that when that happens,
it's about memory. It's about where you were when
That's
you
it.
heard that record.
It's like your first kiss,
Yeah.
your first love, you never forget it. Some people were like, because of Freak Show,
Yeah.
I found my significant other. Because of this record, I was able to get through a divorce or a death in my family. So that record will always be close to my heart. I love your new shit, but it'll never top that. And we have to digest that and be like, so you don't like the new one? They're like, I didn't say that. And that's what we hear, because we're very, again, critical. Yeah. We always want to be better than what we've done. That's our model.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I totally get where you're coming from. But it is 25 years of Twiztid, so we're going to take you through some of the Twiztid history, starting from the beginning, and we'll see how far we can make it to get up to the current present times.
But what we can remember.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, see what you guys remember. So, speaking of which, let's go back to like the most tasteless era. So you guys, obviously, psychopathic, no magic ninja, you're running your own thing, you have help. So, it's some of the stuff that took place during the most tasteless era. Did that teach you about like running a label? Did you talk about some of the stuff that you learned like from the get-go that you started out with that you can now apply to what you do currently?
Paul and I have always been the type of people who were very observative. You might not think that we're paying attention to shit, but we're watching everything. We like are sponges. We soak up everything. So what we consider a lot of it was on the job training. So while we were in a position to be able to come up and do what we were doing, we were also noticing how things worked. How did people get to that? Like him, he knows how to the touring system and booking and this and that because he paid attention to things. I was more about the graphics, but I rest assured when he had, and he's like, you got it. We're like 100 twin powers activate, you know.
Yeah, that's where you get the
100%.
Right, absolutely, 100%.
Did you talk a little bit about like trying to find your identity as a group or coming up with like the Twiztid? I don't want to call it like gimmick.
Yeah,
no,
that's
like,
fine. The image.
Yeah, the image that you guys put forth. Like, what was the process like to find that?
When we first signed the Psychopathic Records, we were not going to paint our face. That's the last thing we wanted to do. We were like, we don't want to be another inception of you guys. We appreciate the opportunity. We're going to try to just do it like this.
Kind of blaze our own trail.
Yes, exactly. So there was no paint. It was like we were fucking sweaty and red on stage. Nobody wants to see that. So then we tried baby powder, like just a little bit of white. Not makeup, just a little white. And that turned into pasty. He looked like uncooked biscuits on stage. It was fucking crazy. And then,
That's so true.
And Jamie was like, let me try something. Motherfucker painted his face white and put black around his eyes. That was it. The minute I saw it, I was like, oh, motherfucker. Now we're gonna have to paint our goddamn faces because that's it. That's what we look like.
The reason, yeah, because of the fact, like you said, it was like the sweat with the trying to do away with your jumping. I'm still large now. I was extremely large at that time, so I would get very sweaty and I had slap face a lot. So I was very self-conscious of that. I'm being real with you because I love you guys. So don't tell anybody I told you this. No, but I was like really self-conscious about that. So we were trying to get this vampiric look, and we were doing the powder thing, and the sweat, it would just make dough. And it was so horrible. And I just remember one day I asked Joey, I'm like, let me see one of those sticks. He's like, okay. He came back there, and next thing you know, it was on. So
then we started fucking with the hair, and it was just like an entire thing.
The thing that really did it for us though is we did the transition of the hoodies with contacts, and then the baby powder, then the paint. And what really did it for us is when we looked out into the crowd and we seen faces that looked like ours.
They were almost mimicking you.
It felt like we had found a niche or clicked with everyone that we were trying to get involved with, and they were like, we feel what you're doing and we're reflecting it, and we're like, holy shit, I've been evicted, erase me from the face. So we just started getting into it. We're like, holy shit, dude, they're like us, they get it, they fucking get it, they feel it in their blood.
It's awesome that you're using like crowd response, because they do the same thing in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
That's how the catchphrases and all that stuff came off. They see what the audience is bringing into the show. So that was perfect. It's brilliant of you guys.
Calling it over.
Yeah.
We'll keep in mind, we came up with people that were tailored from the wrestling industry. So we, at the same time, we're getting the on-the-job training for the music aspect via Alex and the showmanship via ICP. So we were kind of in a nice position to see everything down the middle and then make it our own. That's what we tell everybody. Be inspired by what we do and make it your own. If you're a rapper, an artist, a hairstylist, whatever the fuck it is you do, if you're inspired by us, use that inspiration to make your art come to life, because we do that with everything. I'm inspired by mad people. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think we'd have some of the sounds we have, some of the looks we have, some of the vibes. So we encourage everybody to do that shit too.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Can you talk a little bit about the process? So your first couple albums, can you talk a little bit about the process of editing songs and writing lyrics and cutting tracks and like preparing for like a national release?
Absolutely.
What was going on through your mind?
I have two things. You go and then I'll go. I have two things that are great.
It was crazy because the first record basically was hands off. We didn't know anything. So we watched the process.
I'm gonna elaborate on that.
For the first 3 years, I don't even think they heard my voice, but I fucking listened and watched every fucking move they made. Every single one, bad or good. And I learned how to analyze it and use it to our advantage, regardless if it worked for ICP or not. And then it became a process of where we be in on their meetings and helping them plan for their records. Like that respect came back, you know what I mean? Where they see our vision for them as well. So they would take ideas from us and shit like that as well. It was awesome to have that respect, because in the beginning, ICP didn't fuck with nobody. Nobody. They didn't listen to nobody. Nobody could tell them anything. But somehow down the line, the friendship that we had, they trusted us. That if we're telling you, motherfucker, you crazy? Don't do that. They won't do it. They'll be like, okay. A lot of other people just couldn't do that. And that is when I felt like, we got it, man. We can do this shit. Like them dudes sold millions of records.
I was gonna go a different route. I want to say like where I was gonna say is when we started. I'm gonna like this to cooking. A lot of y'all have grandmothers or yayas or whatever you have. They cook things from the mind. How much sugar in the palm?
Yeah.
We're book smarts. We're Google. It's 2.5 cups of sugar. So when we started writing songs, we didn't know. We knew how to write a song. We just didn't write it to structure. Like there is 16 bars is 8 rhymes. 12 bars is 6 rhymes. So it's like we didn't know that. So that's why when you listen to this is fresh. When you listen to Murder, 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 if you're a rapper and you're counting rhymes, it's like long as fuck. The verse ended like 2 things, and it's still going, and I'm still killing people, and he's still, and you're like, Jesus Christ, learn how to write a song. But I think that's what's fresh about the progression of the band, because you see us coming in, and it's a want. We've always had the want to do it. We might not have known how to do it, but I think that's another thing I love that people take away from us is our ability, we don't give a fuck ability. We will do that shit. Juggalos can do anything. That's one of the things I feel we added to the Juggalo lore, is that you can do anything you want to do. Absolutely. We are proof in the fucking making that anyone can do what we do, and I love that. I want you all to fucking know that. I will never forget that. I don't care how old I get. You see me in a motherfucking wheelchair. You a juggalo, right? You can do whatever you want, baby. Yes, I understand you're the president. That's what's up, and that's what I'm waiting for. I mean, we've been telling that to little kids that I see that are now like 32, come and say, well, you remember me, man? I was at the Mirror tour. I was only this big. You're like, dude, holy shit. I'm a CEO at this bit. Like, goddamn, that's what's up. You guys are out there filtrating the world and coming up and becoming people of stature, and that was what it was all about. Show that individuality. We are out there.
Individuality.
So your first meeting with Mike Clark. Can you talk a little about the first track that you recorded with him? Did you have strange impressions, or how it was different from other people that you were recording with?
Okay. We pulled up to Mike. Our first song with Mike Clark was the fucking feature with Cottonmouth Kings. And
Pumpkin Carver, that be the hobby.
Right. So we show up to Mike Clark's. He's like, oh man, you know, he thought we were the shit. We were blown away by his shit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Real cool. But the Cottonmouth Kings stayed in the backyard, in Mike's backyard when we went in the house, right? It was St. Dog, D-Lo, Rat X. No, Richter, what? This is before that.
Maybe, Brad. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe. In the beginning,
Yeah.
probably those three.
So, we seen them in the backyard. What's up, guys? What's up? And they were like, man, what's going on? We go in, meet everybody, come back out. We go to pull off. This motherfucker's tire's flat. And I remember that while we were back there, one of them was playing with a knife. I turned to Jay and I'm like, this motherfucker slashed your tires? He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because I know he knows I'm about to go back there and fuck one of these dudes up. So he's like, maybe a bird could have beaked it the wrong way. I don't know.
It's okay, I'm a priest.
Let's just go. And I just couldn't get over it. So we left, fixed the tire right over, we come back, and I just had to ask them, like, did you motherfuckers slash our tire? And they were like, no. That's it. No.
Confrontation is a motherfucker.
All right, let's go, man. Let's go. So that was our first interaction with Mike Clark, was that.
I want to say that when we first started, we would start at the Disc LTD. It is located in East Point, Michigan.
9 miles.
And that is where we met Fritz Van Koski, who is still with us to this day. Starting there, the humble beginnings, we would rent the rap demo package. So mind you, this is the foreground for how we get to Mike Clark. And we're doing shit where we're all mixing a song, and it's the board as long as this table, and I'm like, you got the drums, you got the snares, Fritz has got his foot down here, and we're like, coming up, secondhand smoke. We all punch it out, we all punch it back in, you get one take. So it was like that kind of shit. So when we got to Mike's house, he had the beginning stages of Pro Tools, so we were like,
you can do anything.
You don't have to use your foot. He's like, what kind of shit? And I'm just like, the first thing we do is we get back to Fritz and we're like, Fritz, there's this thing called Pro Tools. He was like, if you going up to the studio, hey, we have that up there. I'm like,
oh, we just been recording.
You didn't tell me that.
That's just like the challenge of using the feet on the board.
I think Fritz seen in us the hunger, and I think it was one of those things like you gotta earn those stripes. I want to see if you got, even to this day, Fritz likes to push us. I think in a good way, in a positive way, like, you're better than that. You can do one more take.
Yeah,
and you're like, I'm dying. One more fucking take. And you're like, okay. And you do it, and you're like, you were right.
Yeah,
so it's like, I have that confidence, he has that confidence in him, and he's come with us for the whole 25 years. So it's awesome. It's like to see, and it's like, although, Mike has come and gone throughout, Fritz has stayed with us the whole time, and I think that was the whole new world there. Like, Blaze, your dead homie, was low-key crafted in Mikey Clark's garage.
Really?
Yeah.
When the Hound Dog song was created, that was his first you get to be on the song kind of vibe, and it was like, go do it. Go do it. If you're up for this, again, because that was kind of how we got on it. It's always like a challenge. I'll give you an opportunity. Will you
See
take it?
if you'll do it.
I'll give you a rope if you want to be a cowboy. Come on, let's go. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and we kind of gave that to Blaze. I was like, I know you want this. You go downstairs and you do that rap. That's who you are. He's like, fuck it, let's get it. And he did the rap, and it was like, holy shit, on that day, Blaze, your dead homie, became a part of the psychopathic family. Whether it be known to him or unbeknownst to him, it was just cool. A lot of things happened in Mike Clark's house.
Yep.
Like transpired through ideas and photo shoots and shit like that. So we have a lot of history with him. He's taught us a lot of shit as well, but I still, Fritz, man, that's our dude, man. He's like, Mike was ICP's dude, Fritz was our dude, and I think we found that happy, we have our own, we were building our own team. I don't think we knew it. Maybe, did we know it? You might have known, he knew it. I didn't know. I'm the naive one of the bunch. I'm like, we were keeping good people around.
Oxide is the architect. He's building.
Yeah, he was.
No, absolutely. We
building
did
a
not
Voltron.
want to be high maintenance. We appreciated the opportunity. We did not want to ride on their coattails and just be like, we're down with ICP, let's go. No, we wanted to carve our own shit out of what they had started. So they had started this Juggalo thing, and we came in with the family thing. You know what I mean? Like, everything it's close, but there's a little nuance put onto it. The way that it's us, it's different.
Right on.
Gotcha.
It's different.
So moving down the line, moving a little away from the most tasteless era, moving into Man's Myth and Mutant. You guys did something unique with the release of it. It was a double album, but you guys released it separately. Was there a reason behind that? Was there like a plan?
Yep.
Okay.
We wanted to do something nobody had ever done before, and that was it. And they thought we were crazy. We're like, put them all together. We're like, no. Everybody does that.
Yeah, because you put out Man Smith first, and then what, a month or two?
The idea was to do a rap record and a rock record,
Okay.
and try to be able to offer them as it's a complete tale. It starts off as rap, it segues into this rock vibe, which is something that, I mean, when you see Unlikely Prescription, you can tell we've wanted to do this for years. That's like when we do interviews about the rock music now, people are like, what's the erratic change? I'm like, have you ever listened to Most Tasteless, How Does It Feel? It's very rocky.
That's the same thing I get. So a lot of people will be like, Twiztid, they're not rap anymore, they're trying to be more rock. I'm like, dude, if you go back and you listen to the music, there's always, you guys have always had that rock like portion. I feel like some of these newer albums, like
that's
Generation Nightmare,
yes.
Unlikely Prescription, when you really like hit it with the rock, like you guys fucking kill it with
I love that. I love that. During Freak Show, we got our first chance to kind of like do rock stuff and kind of force it into what we were doing. And like when we had at one point, Violent J came to the studio to listen to the record. We played him like 3 or 4 songs. He's like, I'm on my way up to the studio. I want to hear what y'all are recording. We're like, come on. Yeah. Like you want to see if there's any wavery in our voice. Like, oh God, he's on his way. Hurry up. Let's put something together and act like we're doing something.
Look busy. Your boss is coming.
We're like, there's 11 songs on the record at the time. Here's 8 of them. And he was just like, oh my God.
He called Mike Clark in. He called Joey into the studio. He called like 4 other people into that fucking studio session, played those songs for them again, and then said, how the fuck are they getting this sound out of this place?
And that's when we knew that it's not about the surroundings, it's about what's inside. We could be working with 2 soup cans and a pencil, and if it's Mike Greg and we're doing it, we're gonna get out what we want out of it, and all lessons learned along the way. But just the idea, the level of confidence that we seen in him, that was kind of when I knew we're on the right track. I mean, it didn't feel like, watch out, world, we're, whatever, but we kind of felt that we were not at the kids' table anymore. We were efficient enough to be able to do our own thing and start our own vibe, and that's when, as you notice, if you watch the progression, that's as you get to Man Smith and Mutant, we start designing merchandise and start being more hands-on and developing what we do and how we do.
More control over what you guys are putting out.
Taking the reins more, a little bit more, like he said, being self-sufficient and kind of stepping away from having everything. Can you wipe my butt?
Yep.
Because
if you're an artist on a label and you're waiting for the label, you're fucked. If you don't know how to go in there, a label is only as good as the person that is using it. It's like a computer. It's like a kitchen. You can go into a kitchen and with the same ingredients as we can make the same cakes, but they're gonna taste differently.
My cake's gonna taste real bad.
Mine's gonna be excellent.
It's gonna be burned
because I love cake.
Yes, I love cake too, but I can't make it.
I'll be the judge of that.
But that's what it is. Like, we could go into the same kitchen. We're just gonna come out with something
for sure
completely different.
Absolutely. Speaking of something completely different, so you guys, you record as a duo as Twiztid, but you've also put out like solo albums, like Fatso, Chainsmoker. Like, do the songs that you put on your solo tracks, do those like kind of start in fruition as like do like a track for like the duo album, or is that stuff that you guys kind of write on your own specifically?
I'll tell you the fucking God honest truth. My solo album. Okay, I had a daughter with a girl long time ago, right? Fucking went to shit. Didn't get to see the kid anymore. Lady went, did her own fucking thing. I started doing my own thing. 10 years later, I get like 15 envelopes in my fucking mailbox. All my assets are frozen. They put liens on all this shit, and they're like, motherfucker, you owe $45,000 in arrearages for child support. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I had to get my shit together, and I went to Alex, and I'm like, bro, I need 50K. I'll give you a fucking album right now. Give me 2 weeks. And he was like, you do that? You got it. So that's how my record came. Just like that. I never, ever wanted to be a solo artist. I never wanted to do a solo record, but I refused to bring him into my bullshit. That's why. I didn't feel he should be responsible for any of that. So I just took it on myself, knocked that motherfucker out, and got to see my daughter. I went into that courtroom like, there's your money, bitch! And I'm like, now there's gotta be some shit, right? I get to see my daughter again and some shit like that. And so we went and sat before a fucking referee, and I schooled it. It was awesome, man. And that's why my solo album came out. And then I started seeing the daughter again, and that was cool for a minute. And then that shit fucking turned on me, and hopefully no more solo albums are needed. But yeah, it's
No more surprise child
it's a
support
very, very human situation.
Listen,
I'm sure a lot of you guys have went through it.
You gotta
But
back up my wooden leg.
that's it. That's why I did it. Johnny could fucking release solo records twice a week. Like, that's just what he does. And I told you guys, he is built for this. He only does Twiztid because it's with me. He could keep doing this shit himself and have 40 fucking records out and be whoever the fuck he wanted to be. But he chose to do it with me.
I always
And
choose to do it
appreciate
with you. I hope that sounded right.
Right. And I appreciate that because I know in my heart of hearts, that's what it is. Yes. Yes, it is okay. He is a priest. Yeah.
I appreciate you for that. No, I was gonna say what I wanted to say. All that he said was absolutely real. What I wanted to say is around the time when those solo records came out, we were to like it to the wrestling development. We were flushing out our characters. There was the time where he became the chain smoker because the truth of the matter is there's some really fucking true twisted shit. Okay. He was the chain smoker and I became the fatso. And I tried to make it cool for everybody who was fat because I got tired of being picked on as a fucking kid. So check it out. Here's the true, sick, demented, fucking twisted shit. He was the chain smoker. I smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day. He smoked
more than
1.
me.
I ate like 2 cheeseburgers. He'd eat like 15. So secretly, I was his gimmick and he was my gimmick. I want to say that. It really is.
I can eat. I don't know what it is, but I can eat a lot.
When he told me I need to stop with the cigarettes, I was like, sir. But the reason why he would tell me is because I was obsessive. I would be in my bunk with the curtain closed, smoking. I'd be driving with I'm like that old lady. I'd be driving with smoking in the car with the windows closed.
Lighting one off.
Breathe it in. Yeah, putting one out, like enough stress smoking. I'm real annoyed at this point. I'm like, yeah, we gotta.
But he was real inclusive. He'd come in the room and throw cigarettes at everybody. Boom,
Yeah, hell
boom,
yeah.
boom,
We used to
boom.
call them Lotus smokes. Light them
Lotus
if you
them
got them. Lotus them out. Lotus, dark Lotus. All right, we just throw them to everybody. Everybody starts smoking. If I'm smoking, you're smoking. So we're real encouraging.
So imagine poor ROC who has never touched a cigarette in his fucking life.
To
On
this
a bus
day.
with 14 guys that smoke at least 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
He literally said, I had to throw all my clothes away, dog.
He went home. Yes.
I was like, I didn't even think about that shit. Like, I'm so sorry.
Everything, dog. Everything we had smelled like cigarettes. Everything had that yellow tinge to it. Oh God. It was so.
Jamie's fucking 2 fingers were always yellow. Always yellow.
Fucking right. I don't care what anybody says. That's the realest shit ever. I smoke so much. I always had this guy. I'd always be like this. So these fingers would just, all the smoke would just trail up here. Every time he was a Johnny Depp, like every time you see me, like, oh, let me light a cigarette. Constantly smoking so I can be cool and fix at the same time.
Yeah.
Right, righteous.
I didn't smoke because I was addicted. I smoked because it made me look cool.
I don't know about that. You were pretty angry if we didn't have cigarettes on the rider, sir.
That was the addiction.
It was like a rider, you get a rider for a venue, meaning like things that you would like to ask for when you come there. We would usually say like our rider was the freshest one ever. We need like 5 cartons of Newport 100s in a box.
Yeah, what else was on this?
That's it.
Yeah.
Mostly that, some tube socks, and I believe it was like what at one point it was carrot cake or something strange. A case of Pepsi and sweet tea for this guy right here, and cheese for the cheese hound over here. Yes, sir.
I swear to God, this motherfucker and Dustin ate a 72-piece thing of cheese in like 4.5 minutes.
Have you ever heard of government cheese? Y'all know about them government cheese blocks? They come per slice. And then when it was all gone, he bought the whole government block. And we started at the tour, and it was like on a Monday, and it was Wednesday night. He's making a sandwich, and he goes, he's like, who ate all that cheese? And then we look at him, and him and Dustin go back and forth thinking each other out. I don't know. I seen him with like 6 slices. 6 slices? You had 13 slices.
I said you make a cheese sandwich with cheese and
I was
more
like,
cheese.
man, we are developing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cabin fever going on in this tour bus.
Break it up.
Right, separate.
The true way to tell who had the most cheese was whoever's the most constipated.
Indeed. They were both looking a little pinky, to be honest with you.
Jesus Christ.
Naturally.
I feel sorry for hotel bathroom. Like,
When you go to check in, and you ask for a plunger, can I get a plunger? They're like, oh, looking forward, huh? Yeah. Got a beef and bean burrito barking back at me.
Right. Imagine 14 guys farting in a fucking bus and you can't do anything. Sitting, catch pink eye. Fuck. You get mad. It would get so mad. Like, why?
And that
Why
was
does it
Rock's Dead
stink?
tour. I don't mean to go backwards, but
No, go backwards.
one other fresh ass story because you're talking about the tour bus. The very first time we ever went on a tour, on our own tour, was Rock the Dead tour. We had a blue Eagle. An Eagle is the cheapest bus you can get in the game. It looked like it had been stolen, driven upside down. It looked like they changed the transmission in the front lobby. And we had like every single person we had ever known in our life, all our friends, all our brothers, were like, we're going on tour and you're coming. And we had this whole, everybody was in the bus like this, like riding to the venue. I remember Euclid Tavern. The bus broke down in front of it. We were a sitting duck. It was the greatest show of my life, and it was just awesome. It was like, holy fuck, we're doing this. We have a tour bus, even if it don't start. Even if we have 58 people that probably shouldn't be here. We fucking did it.
Yeah.
That was the mentality, man.
Because
We
that
go from
was
there.
crazy, because they were just like, well, there you go. Pat you on the ass and sent you out. There was nobody experienced on that tour. So we did some crazy shit on that
But
tour.
much
We
like-
almost cost ourselves our career on that tour. Because if a fucking promoter didn't have our money, that was a problem.
The
We're
hood
gonna go to
tactics
your
kicked
fucking
in.
house, and we're gonna take your TV, we're gonna take your car, and we're gonna get our fucking money, because that's what we knew. That's what we came from. We came from a fucking jungle that any kind of across the line shit
Wanna
like
go to
that,
heck?
we gotta address that. So we came home for tour, and Alex is like, what the fuck did you guys do? And I'm like, shit, we finished the tour. Like, no, look, I have all these promoters that are like, you are not allowed back in there. You took this guy to his house and took his car and TV? I was like, he owed us like $6,500. What the fuck are we supposed? I'm not coming back to fucking Odessa, Texas. I'm gonna get my shit right now. One way or fucking another. He's like, no. That's why you have a fucking booking agent and attorneys. You play the show, they fuck around, you leave. They take care of it. You do not take them to their fucking house and take their. You can't do that.
On the job training.
Yeah.
And much like us, our homies that are now with us to this day learn that way as well. Like a
Next
lot of people,
tour, they had somebody out with us. You better believe that.
It's
They
true.
sent the
It is.
babysitter
Oh,
out.
absolutely. Well, the next tour was the Band-Aid tour where we went with Chapstick kissing everybody's asses for doing the wrong shit we did the first time.
Yeah, basically played
Come on,
for
thank you
free.
for letting us play again here. Come on.
Here's your TV back.
Yeah, here's your TV. We bought you another TV. We're sorry about breaking the first one in the green room.
Steal our
Apologize,
money,
Gracie.
steal it, take it, have
Absolutely
it,
take it.
whatever
You guys
you
should
will.
just keep it. A guarantee schmarantee. What do you mean? What's that?
Shit was crazy.
Have it, man. Fucking have it.
Yeah, we had to do 2 tours basically for free.
But
I'm like,
isn't
wait a
But
minute.
isn't it cool though how like people who like came in as like a homie helping are now like running lights,
Yeah.
running stages, out on tours with other artists that we work with, and like we send our guys on the road to help other artists as merch people or stage hands
Motherfuckers
and
come
shit
to
like
us
that.
for people.
I love that.
That's
I love
awesome.
that. I love that there's a level of respect in the game that people reach out to us for help, and we're able to give that kind of help. It's a good feeling, even if it's not publicly known and whatever. That's why I'm not saying names.
Like,
but
we're
I just-
integrated
I
in
love
so
that.
many camps. We're in Jelly Roll's camp, we're in Ritz's camp, we're in the Strange camp. We're all over the place. And it's just real low key though. It's awesome. I like it like that. I don't want people knowing the fuck we're doing all the time.
That's good. Yeah, it's good. Keep your secrets. Yeah, absolutely. So moving on.
Don't tell me your secrets, I'll tell.
Moving on to Independence Day.
Yes.
Can you talk about how difficult what it was it to like collaborate with another artist for songs and things like that? Did you have difficulties? Was it easy?
Fucking nightmare.
I'm gonna say this, and then you can go. I had nothing to do with that. That was all him. I was like so withdrawn from the entire idea, and it's like I learned from that you have to be more communicative with people. There's a certain level of respect to people if you talk to them like a grown up and give them respect. They talk back, and it's a lot of in the industry. There's a lot of people that can't talk to each other. Hey, I'm gonna have my manager call you. Like, why can't you just call me like a fucking grown man? Why do we have to have 7 fucking people be between you and I because you can't talk to me? So at that level of the game, I was that guy. I was like the 8th guy after the 7th guy, and he was probably the 7th guy, or however the case may be. And it was like we learned from that a great deal. But I know you basically single-handed getting most of the people quick.
It was fucking crazy because I was just flipping through a fucking magazine. I believe it was The Source. And I saw an ad for Daz Dillinger from the Dog Pound. And it's just like, hey, you want a beat or you want features? Call me. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No way. So I called him. Motherfucker answered. Yeah, sure. I have this idea. And I explained the idea to him. He was like, fucking send me the track. I was like, can you get corrupt? He was like, I got it. So that was awesome. I was like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be a breeze. Fucking, and then we went and got Bushwick. And Bushwick fucking sent me a verse that I found out he used on somebody else's record like 3 years ago. And Master P sent us a verse on a fucking, basically a cassette tape. And when I called them back for the Pro Tools session, and we paid this motherfucker like 15 grand, they were like, fuck you. And I was like, fuck me? All right, I'll find you one day. So that song is like the bane of my existence. I fucking hate that motherfucker. I don't fuck with him, whatever it is. To do some shit like that to us, just let me know what kind of camp you are. So he robbed us for 15 G's. Quick was cool. Who else was on that fucking record?
But you had a pretty important feature from Proof, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And that
Proof was easy.
That was the thing. No, Proof was the first person that was actually, to me, real. I think I learned from him. That was where the bullshit, like, check your ego at the door. He came to the studio with a briefcase. I swear to God, with a fucking briefcase full of raps. And he listened to the beat. He was like, fuck this, give me some paper. And I was like, what's happening? He was like, I want to write something off the top. I'm like, oh shit. Like, he was so moved by the song, and it was just like, you know. And he said one thing to us that we were talking about jail. We were talking about life in jail, and he was like, man, we were talking about flying, and he's like, you could do 7 hours in a holding tank, you could do 7 hours on a plane, you could do this or that. He was talking about how they would fly around town, and we had our hang-ups about things, and we're just talking industry things, and he was just so transparent and such a down-to-earth person, and that was the bridge between the beef that was going on with the two camps at the time that kind of put the kibosh on that. Later on, we all got together and went bowling and just tried to merge the whole, you know, D12 psychopathic family vibe and try to make everything, you know, solid again, since we're both from Detroit, and we should not be against. We should, right, because we know it's everybody against Detroit, not Detroit versus Detroit. So it's like, you know, so like we learned that from him, and God bless him, he was a cool dude.
Yeah, he was cool. The crazy thing is, I talked to him the night before he got killed, and we were planning a tour. He was gonna come out on tour with us. So I hang up the phone, it's like fucking 12:30 at night. I wake up and I have like 10 text messages and a bunch of missed calls from his fucking manager. And I called back and I thought it was about the tour, and he told me that he got killed. I was like, God damn. Do not take life for granted, you guys. I swear to God, you never know when that shit's gonna end.
He literally just said that in the studio session, like not even 48 hours, 72 hours before the phone call. So it was like really, really weird. And like, we're firm believers that everything happens for a reason. So I feel that our brush together, although it was short and sweet, it was worth, I still carry the information with me today, and I still spread it to everyone else that I can on his behalf, on our behalf. Because knowledge is power, man. Know that shit. You know what I mean?
That's how that beef got ended, you guys, was because of me and him were like, this is ridiculous. I'm going after Proof. I went to high school with Proof for a long time, and that's what it was. We knew people in common, set up a meeting, and he was like, I don't know what the fuck all the bullshit's about. We're like, me neither. All right, it's over. Then we talked to ICP, and we're like, look, dude, they want to squash it. And they were like, for real? Because they were like, this is dumb too. Let's set something up. And that bowling alley happened.
Shortly after that, we got cool with Bizarre, and then later, if you fast forward, Bizarre was actually on our label.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like everything happens for a reason. Firm believers of that shit. It was just cool to be able to tie up the loose ends and put the bullshit behind it.
Yeah, it was awesome that you guys could squash it all. Yeah. For sure. Moving on to Wicked. Now, the End of Days tour had you guys doing the entire Wicked album. You have since done tours and shows for specific albums. But what was it like touring and not only playing the new CD, but not just playing the new CD and not really playing anything else? Like,
we fucking love that record.
That was killer.
That record is probably one of our favorites. And it was like the only way that record could be heard is like that. To just take songs from it didn't tell the story the correct way. You know what I mean?
You wanted to tell the whole story. I got you.
Yeah.
What also was cool is it was like we were kind of back and forth about it, because there's a lot of what happens with us is we like to overthink things, and it was like
What if that guy didn't get the record?
What if
He's
that guy
not gonna
didn't get
know
the
any of
record?
the
What if they come there just to hear We Don't Die and we don't play it?
Don't play it.
And you're
Yeah.
like, at what point are you the artist? If you're an artist, then do what you do, and if people enjoy it, they will celebrate it. If you start doing everything for people, you're not an artist. You're a fucking newbot.
You get too worried.
So
You
that's
get too
the
worried
thing.
that the crowd's gonna be let down or didn't hear the song.
And
or
that's the
whatever.
thing, though.
You
But
just
if
have
you're-
to trust.
But if you're confident in yourself and what you're putting out, and that people that feel you pull up for you, then entertain them with what you can. You know, like that's that. We again learn that as we go. You know?
Yeah, then I think that's something that shows how much you care about your fan base. Like you don't want to let everybody down. You want everybody to come into the show, have a good time, hear the songs that they want to hear.
Right,
You know,
sure, for
Because
sure.
we learned a long time ago, we don't know shit. Because we'll be like, oh, I fucking hate that song. A lot of people be like, that's my favorite fucking song.
It's so crazy.
So we're like, okay.
The ones that we love that are our favorite are y'all's least favorite. So we don't tell y'all our favorites no more, so you'll like them.
Yeah.
We're actually like, we hate that. Well, it's ironic. I love that one. Good.
Yeah, we don't explain records because it might mean something different to you guys.
That's true as
Our
well,
explanation might fuck you up. Be like, oh, that's dumb.
Because a lot of times we'll write things for certain reasons, but we don't feel necessary to explain
We don't
it
have
because
one.
when
Just
him and
a
I
picture with us
will
there.
have brief encounters with people and they'll explain a song to us, their interpretation of that song is completely different from anything we came up with, and we're more perplexed that you found that jewel or that gem inside of that song. And we're like, wait a minute.
That's
are you
exactly
fucking
what that
serious?
song was about.
And I'm like, do not encourage them. I'm blown away. Where the fuck did you come up with that? And I'm like, I love it. So I love that. It's like everyone can find what they need in it.
Right.
It's like a mirror. You see yourself in it and yourself can get it. You know what I mean? It's like
Or that Rorschach test.
exactly. Yeah, the ink blots. Yeah, straight up. What do you see in this? Everyone sees something different, and I think that's kind of maybe unique, like your fingerprint.
Yes.
Very cool. Now, the continuous evolution of life's questions, there's a hidden track that finishes, how does it feel?
Yes.
So, now, were those, was that original, those lyrics, were those originally written before, and you came back to it in 2017 to finish it, or like, what was the story behind that?
Originally, the song was written, and it had more to it, and we recorded it, and we just thought it would be cool if the record ripped and it stopped. And then over years, you know, we're just like, that's how it is. We will, like, no matter how militant we are about things, we just grow with it, and it's just how it is. And then after time, it came, you know, we'd see on like certain blogs, and you know, I wonder if the other half of that song exists, and we just start laughing. We're like, it's that big of a deal? So we just thought it would be fresh as an homage to people who were still around for, how at that point, what are we talking, like 15, 16, 17 years in the game, whatever it may be, and that's still around in the game as a tip your hat to them. People, if you're still out there, you can hear it, you're like, holy shit. But if you're a new person, you can experience it all again, and you're like, now, wait a minute, this first half was somehow that long ago? So it's like, it's fun. We try to, it was an Easter egg, if you will.
Yes.
Fan service. I appreciate you back, hell yeah. Yeah, right.
And talking about how you guys always kind of dance between like rock and hip hop, and you have that sound. Were there any specific musical influences that led to that shift when you made that shift in sound on Freak Show?
Marilyn Manson. And
Marilyn
Rob
Manson
Zombie.
and Rob Zombie. All right.
For me, I've always loved, like, that was the thing since we were kids. Him and Brian were rap, I was the rock and roll. When it was the hair metal, it was Cinderella, Twisted Sister, Rad, you name it. They put me on the Beastie Boys and Public Enemy and Run DMC, and we would trade cassettes, and you know, and we kind of, whether you liked it or not, we rubbed off on each other because that's just how we were as kids. And those influences are seen in a lot of the House of Crazy stuff coming up. We used to, because it was a free-for-all back then, we would just take what we want. It was a lot of samples, real underground. You like that picture, you cut that picture out, that's your fucking album cover. You like that song, you take that song, take their words off it, you rap on it. It was a real